This is your girl, January Poetry, host of The Dirty Pleasure Show. With The Dirty Pleasure Show, now we are live. You can go to the store. Be sure to unlock the 10% discount when you subscribe to the newsletter. We've got a catalog full of goodies for you. We've got 2 bundles that you want to check out. The Hot Auntie Starter Kit as well as the Dirty Bag Swag. We've got a little bit of something for everybody on this website. You can also find our social media links and how to connect with us as well as if you want to be a guest on the show. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because season 3, if you're seeing this and hearing this, season 3 is right now. So be sure to go to The Dirty Pleasure Show and check out some information about myself, January Poetry. But you can also get a little bit more detail there and understand a little bit more about maybe stuff I had said. But you can definitely see us on the YouTube channel. You can also see us little snippets here and there on the website. And then you can click on the Hear Us tab. We're on all platforms, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and Spotify, just to name a few. Be sure to go to thedirtypleasureshow.com. Now enjoy the show. Let's get dirty.
There we go. What is good, everybody? I'm J. Marie Poetry, host of the Dirty Pleasure Show. I've got my host with me again, Brandy. Go ahead and introduce yourself, ma'am, so all the fans and viewers will know you.
Well, I'm Brandy. I'm Brandy. I'm the host of Breakup and the owner of the Cousin College. I'm independent.
Okay. And we have with us on screen one of our guests. You got a little bit of a lag? You good? Okay. I've got with me on the set, on our panel, Mel. I couldn't see your name. I don't know why it blocked it out, but you're perfectly in the frame of the like, follow, subscribe thing. So we've got with us Mel, and she's going to give us her take on the show topic today. But what we wanted to talk about today is called X's and Y's. And what we're talking about with X's and Y's is talking about the positive spin on what our exes or our ex-boyfriends and ex-mates and stuff like that has given us going into our future relationships, and what we've learned from that relationship that gave us clarity of ourselves, gave us clarity of what boundaries we needed to have set, what things we needed to cleanse or do better in our, with ourselves going into the next relationship. So I wanted to kind of dive into that topic today, and hopefully it be a positive note, because I know when you go through exes and certain situations, it can get negative, and it definitely cannot be a pleasant experience all the time. But I want to kind of put a different spin on it this time, and hopefully not be so negative about things, because breakups can be. So to set things off, I wanted to kind of get our guests, your opinion, your take, your sort of experience in this arena, with what your ex, put inside. Oh, let me not say it like that. Not put inside of you. Not in the way that it came out, at least. But what are some? Oh, B must have had some issues. What are some, I guess you say, the takeaways that you had in your relationship that helped you become a better you for the next person and things like that? And while you're doing that, I'm going to get some other things set up in the background. So go ahead and give us your spill on that.
So my ex, we were together when we were young, so we kind of grew up together, and some of the takeaways are communication style. It's important to have the same communication style as your partner, because a lot of things can get misread, or you can have a lot of disagreements just from that alone. And you got to know how to communicate. Just because somebody doesn't speak your same language, you got to know how to speak to them at their level so that you can get it. Effective communication is what I'm trying to say. You got to have effective communication. And I learned that I have very little patience. So, and I also learned that through a relationship, like you have the control of your relationship. It doesn't matter what somebody does to you. It really matters about your response to the situation. You control the relationship and what you allow, you know, you got to set your boundaries and what you allow. Anything that happens is what you allowed to happen, is what I'm trying to say. So you can't blame the other person because they did something to you because you allowed that to happen. You know, it's all about yourself, not the other person.
I agree with that. I think one of the things that, okay, let me just kind of back up a little bit, because I know for this show, it's called the Dirty Pleasure Show, and I know a lot of times that can kind of be a little bit misconstrued, so I wanted to kind of explain the premise behind that real quick, because we're getting into this season 3, we've gotten into some more serious topics, and ones that aren't necessarily bedroom specific. So I want to kind of let everybody know in the audience that we want to get down and dirty. So the premise of the Dirty Pleasure Show is to talk about the things that maybe are perceived as dirty, or maybe are perceived as things that we brush under the rug, and things that we don't want to talk about, that we have to realize are what makes us be sexual to our mates, or are what gives us the hang-ups in our relationships and things like that. So that's the way that I wanted to kind of present this show, present the podcast, and present the topics to the audience, rather than it be just seeming like we're just going to be sexually explicit all the time. So level set there for a lot of the viewers that might be seeing season 3, like, what the hell is going on? Dirty Pleasure Show is taking a different angle. We're just talking about all different sides to the topic. So with that said, I'm going into my answer or my take on things. There's some things that I had to really dig from within myself to understand that there are sometimes, there we go. We got you now. What I was doing was I was kind of level setting with everybody about the show, because I wanted to say, Brandy, you know, we were talking about this behind the scenes, but remember how we were talking about how we wanted our audience to understand the Dirty Pleasure Show, and it not just be always sexually explicit conversations that we're having, but we're talking about the different components of what makes sex great and things like that too. But it also has to do with what we brought from other situations and things like that. So this show is talking about what our exes have given us as takeaways from our last relationships, and what we're bringing back into the new version of ourselves. So when I think about what my exes have taught me, one in specific, my last relationship, he actually taught me that I do want a man that I can have fun with. I do want a man that I can enjoy. I do want a man that's funny. I do want a man that has a sense of humor, but I also saw some things that were not there that I saw as something I did need. Like, I do need a man that wants to not just point out the problem, but come to a solution. So not just be a complainer of everything, but have a solution for it. Because if we're just talking about the same types of things and you're not trying to do anything about it, or you're not trying to actively change whatever that is that you have a problem with, then we're just talking. We're not really trying to fix the problem. So those are some things that I learned, but of what I learned for myself, I learned that I was not really voicing what I wanted out of the relationship, not being honest about that, and taking what's the way to put it? Taking on the personality, or taking on whatever he wanted to do, whatever he liked, and that was what I liked, where that wasn't necessarily the case. And I kind of allowed, you know, and Brandy, maybe you can speak to that. Hopefully nobody tries to jump you in your car, because
that's my 5'6", 12-year-old child. Yo, I'm only 5'2".
Got you.
I'm
she definitely. but let's talk about, you know, do you think that in your previous relationships you would take on what your boyfriend wanted to do, like his hobbies and things like that, only to kind of like make the relationship be even rather than what you wanted to do?
So I'm gonna be like really, I don't want to say transparent. My last known real relationship, honestly, was ended in 2012. Anything after that was just me trying to just cling on to something. Wasn't this to say I have somebody, but just, yeah. So what, tell me the question again, because I almost went off on a whole nother rant. Tell me the question almost. And not like a bad rant, but I started like going somewhere else. But what was the question?
No, I got you. So
okay, no, I got you. Do you think I just kind of went along? Yes, I did. I did, because I didn't, as a child growing up, I'll say not a family that was controlling, but a family that was more would embed you with what they want you to do. So growing up, you know, to make people, because certain family members always didn't really, you know, support me unless I did what they wanted to. Did what they want to do. So when I start getting into relationships, just so there's no off top any issue, I would go along with it. But it turns out some of the things I did like, but I really, just to keep it easier, I just ran with the flow. You like it, I like it too.
Okay, so you know, how can we as women, and now I know this also happens to guys, so but we have a panel of women today, so I want to discuss specifically on the topic of women. Like, what do you think are some things that we can do to still keep our individuality in the relationship, but allow ourselves to maybe compromise, you know, so that, okay, so for instance, we don't necessarily like everything they like, and that's okay. It's not like what your boyfriend or husband or whatever likes, but how can we as women maintain our individuality without taking on so much of the guy's things that he likes to do, that now we take on, because that, like you said, Brandy, that helps to kind of not keep any issues. So what are some things?
I think honestly, I want to say, because dealing with men since that last relationship, I would say communicate, and talk about it. So that way, if you start realizing that person is not on your same page, or they're not somebody willing to compromise, you can cut it short. And you don't have to put yourself in that predicament where now you're just going with the flow just so you can keep them around. Because there's some, you know, some people really have that entitlement. Like, everything I like is right, so you might as well just like this. Like, I had a guy I dealt with, he didn't like me going to church. Because he didn't want to go to church. So I suppressed anything I said about the church, religion, or anything. Because I would always get debated and intimidated to be like, you know, just be quiet about it. Now, had I just had just realized I had the power to speak up, like, no, that's some crazy shit. You know, we gotta cut this short. I didn't. But then once I stopped talking to him, you know, I started getting back to it. So it's like, just talk about it, because some people telling themselves before you get too far into it.
That's true. Mel, what about you? What is your what do you think are some, I guess you say, some tools to take on, or some different pointers
I would say
to maintain individuality?
I think girls' nights are imperative. I think you should keep your own self, things that you were doing before, you should keep doing them. Don't like cancel on your friends and go out with your guy all the time. You need to have your own separate, you know, spaces. Like, you can have a guy's night, you can have a girl's night. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's very empowering. Keep doing handling your starting your own business or whatever creativity that you have going on, keep that for yourself. Don't have everything tied into a relationship. You gotta have your own self self-being, self-worth.
Okay. So when we as women feel guilty, because let me say a moment of transparency. I'm not gonna say we as women. I'm gonna say me, J. Marie, poetry. Okay, there are times where I felt guilty in the past of not being Let me see. Maybe not necessarily not being everything that he wanted me to be, but trying to kind of figure out who has he been with in the past in terms of their personality, in terms of what they were to him. I think I at one point I got asphyxiated with that, and I saw Derek Jackson's ex-wife getting asphyxiated with the women that he cheated on her with. Now I've never gone that route, but thinking about that in the sense of the exes of the person that I'm with now, like what made them not be successful, not in terms of why I want to know your business, but
what can you do
did
different?
you see in them, or what happening exactly? Is that, I know, well, first of all, I know that's not healthy. But for me, my thing was, okay, well, I know I'm different than them if you're with me. And it became this whole thing where I had to actually get therapy for it, because it was this whole what would you call it? Not unhealthy attachment styles. I cannot remember the term for it, but the therapist told me, it's some sort of codependency, relationship codependency. So I said, well, how is that a relationship codependency? And she explained it to me, and she said that you're basing your happiness off of what way he responds or doesn't respond to what you put on the table, or whatever the case may be. So I had to kind of look at that, because this was before me getting into a relationship at this particular point when I was dealing with the therapist. So when I came into the relationship, and one of the things that I didn't recognize was the yellow flags, not just the red flags, because I knew the red flags, but I didn't understand what the yellow flags were. And when we talk about what our exes taught us, we do have to talk about the negative in terms of what we don't want going into the next relationship, but what we do want. And can that person be a good person, but just not be good for you? Yeah. That's a big thing that I think it took me a minute to kind of understand and accept, because it was like, well, they still weren't right for me, but they were good people. He was a good person, and he was still somebody who taught me things, but also taught me things that mirror comes up, right? And you start to see things in that person that you don't like, but you kind of what is the word? You kind of relate to it, and you're like, ooh, but I have done, or I would do, or I would respond that same kind of way. So the takeaways that we talking about here, sometimes the takeaways are, oh, you got some shit you need to straighten up.
And when you sit back after you done dealing with that person, or you really sit back like, hell no. And you gotta look at yourself like, you tolerate that shit too long, but you really sit back and look at people like, like you just hate them now, like, and it just come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you just hate them.
Well, and one of the biggest things was, I knew. Now, we ain't saying no dates on this damn recording, so you don't know whenever whatever happened. But whenever this drops, everybody will know officially out of my mouth, the horse's mouth, as you say. that I'm no longer in a relationship. But what I want to say is women leave the relationship mentally before they ever leave it physically. And for me, I left the relationship months before he broke up with me. And let me tell you something about when the guy breaks up with you and you're never the one that gets broke up with. That shit hit. It hit hard. And not because, now let me say this, not because I've never been broken up with, but because this was somebody I was really, really into. This was somebody I didn't see nobody else but this nigga. So for him to be like, I'm like, no. In my vision, it was me breaking up with you, nigga. Not the other way around.
You get mad they
like,
beat you to the punch, yep.
And several times, several times I've broken up with this guy in my mind months before. And I'm telling you, like, the dream kept coming back. It kept on coming back. And I'm like, you should have left a long time ago, girl. You mad because he finally said it, but this was something you were feeling.
You didn't want to accept the reality.
No, because I'm also taught to fight, right? I'm also taught to fight. And I am a fighter. I'm not somebody who quits easy. I'm not somebody who gives up on stuff. I will stick to my goals and dreams, which thankfully that is a good thing. It's a big deal, and it's a great kind of entrepreneurship or whatever you want to say to have. Like, the whole mindset of never giving up. But it is to a fault when it's a relationship, and I guess that's something that I'm still learning is when is enough enough? When is enough? And then, like, when do you say,
this is it?
All right, I'm good. Without getting to that point where you're the one on the other end of the table, like, no, wait. No, what do you mean this doesn't work? What do you mean we can't?
And when that happens, you can't process and just leave it alone. You're trying to get back with them now because hold on. You're not supposed to leave me. I'm supposed to leave you because I seen the bullshit you was on. But I stayed, and now you have the nerve to be done with me after all the shit you've been on? Yeah.
Do you think, okay, now I know some exes you can be friends with and things like that, but so I was asked, well, can we just be friends? I said, fuck no. Resoundingly, fuck no. No, I can't be your friend. But it's not because I want to be your enemy. It's because I had a lot of feelings invested in your motherfucking ass. So for you to say, can I be your friend? It's like, bro, what? No. I'm never going to see you as just my friend. And I think, I don't know what guy, I really wish I would have reached out to some guys and kind of get them on the show. Maybe that'll be a part 2, or maybe we'll just kind of ask this of the guys later on down the road. But why is it you want to be friends? Is it because you think I'm going to blow up your house and slash your tires and you're trying to say, let's be friends so we're not enemies?
They want to be friends because they got to cut you off. They got to control it. And that's where men and women need to realize when they're kind of dealing, and I'm not throwing this word around because since I stopped dealing with certain people, I've actually studied this word, narcissist, because they were able to break up with you. So that means, can we still be friends? That way that leaves that door open. So whatever the new supply they left you for, I'm not saying that's the case, but you know what I mean? Whatever they thought was going to work better than you, when that doesn't work, because they seeing off top who they are, they're gonna come back because they're gonna come back to that one person that deals with their foolishness the most, without question. That's the one they want to keep as a friend.
Okay, I didn't look at it.
benefits. They know you're still emotionally invested, so they know if they call you in the middle of the night, like, hey, let me, they gonna hit you up first.
And if they see you trying to move on and flirt and other stuff, they leave little. That's why people don't put their business on Facebook anymore. Because the people who are trying to control, because what they'll do is, they'll start planting doubt in whoever dating you next.
They want to keep you stuck in that energy so they can have you whenever they want you. Friends.
You ladies have an interesting perspective. I didn't necessarily think about that. I thought it was more, I'm trying to play it safe, where I don't want us to be enemies because you might be the type to bust the windows out my car, slash my tires and all that kind of stuff. So if we end on a note where we're not friends, now I have to think about that. Now I have to wonder, are you that chick? That's the way that I was thinking about it. Not that there is some sort of hold, I'm on the bench kind of thing.
That's just
okay. And another, like, they want to be held accountable. So that, let me back out of this. Like, if you bring up something, I don't want to deal with that. Let me back up. We just gonna be friends.
When you're asking for the simple things. So do you
think that you're? Okay. So do you think that your ex made you? I do have some questions, by the way. I found them. I forgot I wrote them down. So that's why I'm looking down. Can your previous, ex, let's say ex, can your ex make you a better woman in this case, or a better man, if we were talking to man, person in general, can your ex make you a better person for the next? And if so, how does that work? And we'll start with Mel.
He can make me better because I'm not going to allow the same things that happen in that relationship. I'm gonna address it right away. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be straightforward. I'm going to let you know what the issue is. And I'm not going to give you a long time to correct it. I'm going to hold myself accountable too by holding you to it. Because I'm not going to drag out a relationship knowing we got an issue and then overlooking that issue. That's a waste of both of our time. Like, we're not compatible. Let's just stop this right where we are so we can be cool. We can be friends at that point. But no, we're not dragging nothing out. We need to address everything right here, right now.
When it happens. No, I think that's a great point. Because I think I don't know, something I saw on another podcast, and I started watching a lot of podcasts and listening to a lot of podcasts, and it's something one podcast brought up, or something I saw even in a discussion post on social media or something, and they were saying that you have to in order to want to invest in someone, time, energy, all that kind of stuff, even when it comes to sex. For a long-term relationship, for somebody that you see yourself building with, you have to see that from the jump. Or do you think that it comes over time?
This is your girl, Jamie Reed Poetry, host of The Dirty Pleasure Show with The Dirty Pleasure Show. Now we are live. You can go to the store and be sure to unlock the 10% discount when you subscribe to the newsletter. We've got a catalog full of goodies for you. We've got 2 bundles that you want to check out, the Hot Auntie Starter Kit, as well as the Dirty Bag Swag. We've got a little bit of something for everybody on this website. You can also find our social media links and how to connect with us, as well as if you want to be a guest on the show. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because season 3, if you're seeing this and hearing this, season 3 is right now. So be sure to go to the Dirty Pleasure Show and check out some information about myself, J. Marie Poetry. But you can also get a little bit more detail there and understand a little bit more about maybe stuff I hadn't said. But you can definitely see us on the YouTube channel. You can also see us little snippets here and there on the website. And then you can click on the Hear Us tab. We're on all platforms: Amazon, Audible, Apple, and Spotify, just to name a few. Be sure to go to thedirtypleasureshow.com. Now enjoy the show. Let's get dirty.
I think it can come over time because, like I said, you might see an issue that could hurdle you from getting to the next step, or your person wants to go somewhere, wants to start a business, or they want to, or you see where you want your relationship to go, and you see something that's blocking that. You want to hold your person accountable, and you want them to hold you accountable so that y'all can both grow together. Otherwise, you're just gonna be stuck. And when you come to that point, you either gotta fix it or separate. You can't just keep going on and on and on.
Okay. Brandy, what's your take on it?
I say it can, because you can immediately, most people when they're hurt, they immediately go find the next person. Just somebody that's just like right there. But when you actually this time make a conscious decision, like, okay, I'm going to take it slow with whoever, I'm going to learn not to, just jump and start assuming. And it's like, you realize the toxic environment you also took in with that ex. So you start looking at, how you were acting, and, like, I don't want to carry that to the next person. You might slip up and do it. I know I do, because I'm one to hold in any thought I have, and then one day I have that negative thought and it's just kaboom. But before, you would just, I would just fall out, and then we'd fall out, and then we just get back to talking like nothing happened. This time, it's like, I want to make a point. One, you got to learn to control your temper, communicate. I didn't know how to communicate. Two, I have to learn to come back and apologize and accept whether you have to accept, they might not accept it or not. But you come with that apology because, one, you start thinking like, I hurt them like they hurt me. And that's when I learned hurt people hurt people. So you want to make that conscious decision. You don't ever want to put somebody through what the previous person put you through. So you're going to figure out how you moved to allow that to happen. So you're going to take it to your next relationship. Sorry, I know I went on a tangent. This was a good episode. I wanted to be here for this.
No, you're good. You're good. No, you're good. So the work part, when we talk about your next relationship, or the next person that you move on to after a breakup, when you move on to that new relationship, how do you so I'll speak for myself. For instance, I want somebody who's ready to work, willing to work, and able to work. And I'm not talking about a job, but I'm talking about the relationship, the components of a relationship that prove to me that you're not just going to run, from a problem, that we're going to actually communicate, sit down, work through it, and try to understand each other's points of view. But like, how, I guess my thing that I took from the past relationship is he wasn't ready to work. And listening to or hearing some of the things that he was saying in the relationship told me a long time ago that he wasn't ready to work. And I just was like, oh, but we're having fun. He makes me happy. I'm always laughing, all these different things. None of that shit matters if this person's not ready to work. And that's something that I took away from that past relationship, was like, no, he's got to be ready to work. You got to be ready to work. But if you're ready to work and they're not, it's not going to work. And that's just point blank, period. But when we talk about working, we work on ourselves and things like that, and we come into the relationship, and now we're a different person than we were from our past relationship. But how do you know that man is ready to work? Let me ask that question. What says to you, oh, okay, he's ready to work? Like if you said this was my, I don't want to say fantasy man, but this is what tells you he's ready to work.
His actions. All them words don't mean nothing. Show me.
Yep.
Okay, what in his actions? What in his actions would tell you he's ready to work though?
Consistency, communication. What are your listening skills like? What's your what do you conflict? How do you handle conflict? What's your love language? You know.
Yes, you know, we talked about that in the last. We talked about that in one of our previous shows, and that really was love language. Y'all definitely want to check it out. I think we did. Did we do 3 parts? I think we did a 3-part series today. So y'all definitely check that out. But the conflict style, or no, how they fight. Now, I don't mean fight physically, but I mean when it's time to work, when it's time we have a disagreement, how do you fight? Because if you change the subject all the time, if you constantly deflect, if you don't talk about it at all, how do how does that person do in that arena? That's something that I've learned, let me say, as a takeaway. It's they gotta be a good fighter in that way too. But one of the things that I think was super revealing to me was that I was quick to take the deflection. I was quick to laugh about this or get
completely silent.
From whatever my energy was. Whatever my energy was, it was like, nope, it was quick to shut down. Not because there was manipulation involved, but because as soon as I saw there was, we're having fun again. We're doing this, out of sight, out of mind. Now I'm not even mad, but I didn't address the issue when I should have addressed it. So for me, that was the takeaway that I needed to take into the next relationship is be focused on what you're talking about. Be focused on what that energy is. And if it's not a positive energy at that time, like, okay, you want to bring yourself to a situation where you want to treat them as you want them to treat you. So in a conflict.
And learn why if you see them reacting a certain way, learn them. Learn why are you reacting that way. So that way you can learn you probably triggered something for them just like they triggered something for you, and that's why y'all in this predicament. Learn why are they reacting that way, and I'm not gonna say tiptoe around them, but eventually when each party is showing they're trying to find a way to get on each other's level to at least talk about it, it's like the communication becomes better. They start opening up, and I won't say you have less and less disagreements, but you have fewer disagreements where you can't just find a reason to work past it. And then what are the actions after y'all start working past it?
The only apology is changing behavior for me. So if your behavior didn't change, then that apology was null and void. So if we're having an issue and your behavior didn't change from that issue, because here's something I learned in my past relationship is if I say that this situation is something I'm not comfortable with, or I'm not I don't feel loved, I don't feel valued in this particular situation when you do XYZ, and then you continue to do XYZ and you're now justifying it after I've said, hey, I'm sharing my feelings about why this makes me feel this way, or whatever the case may be, and you're not changing that behavior, I have to look at that and say, okay, is there the flip side of that is, okay, my reaction to it, right? My reaction to what I said was disrespect. My reaction to what I said was hurtful. You know, am I taking it too personal, where this is the way that that person communicates, or this is the way that that person operates, and they've operated like that from the jump,
You just didn't see it.
or they changed up how they operate. And so for the situation that I'm talking about, there was a change in what was done, because at one point he was appeasing me, then he stopped, and it was kind of like that mask came off, and it was like, wait, well, okay, hold on, first you were doing this, now you're not. And what changed that? What made you look at things differently, or what made you see me differently, and things like that. And in a relationship, that kind of fucks with you, you know, because at one point you were so into me, and so into this, and so interested in all these different things that I wanted to do and all this. Now you're showing me that really wasn't the case. And that is something that I had to recognize, is trust the person for what they show you when they show it to you.
That part.
Don't make it be something it's not. Don't make it be something literally don't make it be something it's not, because it is what it is and not what it's supposed to be. So for you have to understand it, or for me, I had to understand it is what it is, not what it's supposed to be, which is what I'm trying to love the situation, love the person for, is what it's supposed to be versus what it is. Yeah. And that reality is a big deal. That a lot of times we see this person, we don't see the red flags, so we're like, ooh, okay, this person is perfect for me. But you don't pay attention. Now you start saying that they're perfect for you. Now you've kind of clouded out any other flags that might be at play, and you don't see those until now you're sitting and it's too late, because the relationship is over, you know. And I probably should have had it ended a long time ago. But you know, that's the whole thing. That, do you think we as women look for the good in a man versus looking for what it really is?
Yes. We fall in love with the possibilities of what it could be, instead of the actuality of what it really is.
Yep. And sometimes they tell us off jump.
We do.
They are.
Yeah, we try to nourish that potential, but sometimes that it don't stick. We need to just leave it alone and go on and get what we really want, instead of trying to ignore those red flags, those yellow flags, and all the situations. Like you said, just, oh, we're having a good time, so I'm gonna just talk. I ain't even gonna worry about it. No, we need to address that. Don't see it for what it is. It's not going to be a future until this gets addressed today.
And a lot of times they will start changing for that too.
And the other part I think is so real is that when you look at what they say in the beginning versus what they do in the middle and the end, and you start trying to figure out what changed that made you feel that was acceptable to now, well, they got comfortable, but their level of comfort was really what it was in the beginning, but they had the representative that we talk about. You know, you met the representative, and the true person you don't meet till later on down the road. But not to make it seem like, oh, you're the victim. No, we're not the victim. No. We allowed it, you know. So it's not to say we didn't contribute to our own, you know, failure in the relationship.
That's what it is.
But when you, so you have this is what I will and won't accept, right? In the beginning of the relationship, or in the beginning of your dating cycle, right? You're at a point where you say, this is what I will and won't accept. But you modify that. Like, one of my biggest things is I'm not having any more children. So I don't want to date a guy who wants children. Or you understand that you can't have kids with me and you're okay with that. So building a family isn't something we would do biologically, but maybe adopting or something like that, you know, if there's that possibility. But if I allow someone to come in and say, well, I might want to have kids later on down the road, but not right now, so we ain't gonna worry about it. No. What I had to understand is later on down the road, yeah, you still are telling me you want to have kids.
Yeah.
You know, you still are telling me you want to move to Dubai. And I don't want to move to Dubai. I want to stay here. So you're telling me that there is something that you want to do later on down the road that is already my, you know, it's no-go for me. And I'm saying, well, since it's later on down the road, we're going to go ahead and, you know, not worry about it. I have to remind myself you can't do that because now you've accepted what they've already said they don't, or what they've already said rather that they want to do that you know you can't provide. I know I don't want to move to Dubai. So why am I even entertaining a guy who wants to move to a whole nother country? You know, or why am I entertaining a guy who wants to at some point have children and I'm not going to be having any of his kids? So regardless of what the reason is, if I just decided I don't want to have any more kids until I'm married again, and if I'm not married again, then I'm not having any more kids, that's what I need to stick to. You know, so some of the things that we as women do, let me ask that question. Pose a question to you, Brandy. Do we change our, what is it? You say no-go situations or whatever you want to call it, but do we change our, what we will and won't accept?
You talking about like boundaries?
For that certain guy. Not boundaries in terms of like the hard, I'm gonna say the hard boundaries, but maybe the softer ones where like we say, hey, we don't want to have any more children until we're married, but then we meet a guy who's like, but he wants to build a family and things like that, but he's not interested in getting married yet, or that's later on down the road, just like kids are. So the question to you is, would you be like, oh, you know what, since it's later on down the road, you know, do we soften up on our boundaries in that way?
I think some people do. I think some people do, and then sometimes if you wasted enough time on a man or a woman, and it's sometime down the road, and you finally do you finally give in. Let's just say to finally just settle it down and have kids, but kids were not in your future. Now you're stuck with kids you really don't even want with somebody you really don't want to. You just settled for them.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
And literally, I am only speaking from my experience. I'm going to be very truthful here. Everything I'm saying is from past fucking experiences. But it is not necessarily saying you kept the baby. You know, you had the baby to keep them, but down the line, you knew they didn't want kids. And you still didn't protect yourself, and now here you are, a single parent. So I'll say single man or woman. That can happen. That can happen too. Or you get left with kids, or you finally just get married because they want to, and all of a sudden they're cheating on you and they're divorcing you. So yeah, I think people do, but you gotta be careful of that shit after a while.
So with the fact that we let go of some of we say these are showstoppers or game, what's the word? I can't think of the term.
Expectations?
No, just like, okay, so in dating, when we say these are, I cannot.
Oh, I know what you're trying to say.
I should have wrote down the
No,
word.
I can't think of it. I know exactly what you're trying to say, though.
Oh my God.
these are. I'm gonna say no goes. Okay, I'm ex-military. I cannot think of the word that I'm trying to think of. Yeah. But these are no goes. So these are no goes that we say we won't accept or
non-negotiables.
Okay. Non-negotiables, or it was something even less than that though, which is really pissing me off because I'm like, what? But non-negotiables, we'll say non-negotiables. So some non-negotiables that I have that I won't let up on is domestic violence, any kind of thing like, you know, in your past that has put you in a situation where you are now on a registered sex offender kind of list, that kind of thing. You know, certain things like that are non-negotiables to me. But when we're talking about a situation where we said, okay, so one of the things is for me, let me ask this. For all women, we generally like a man who can take charge, understands how to operate and run things, run the show and stuff like that. So do you say you're attracted to a alpha male type, or is that even a category that you have kind of like in your book when it comes to dating?
Yeah, that's a necessity. Like I'm very tech charged, so if I don't have an alpha male, I'm gonna like run him. I need somebody to be like, sit down, let me do it.
Yeah.
I can't have no, you know.
So is it the height? Okay, do we say that's hyper independence, or is that more like no? It's you think it's hyper independence, Mel?
I'm very independent. Like if I want something done, I'm gonna do it myself. I need somebody that's gonna be able to tell me, no, I got it. Let me help you. Not somebody that's gonna sit back. Or else I'm gonna be running him like, yo, I need you to do this, you know. I don't want that. I want somebody. I need a partner. I don't need a dependent. You feel me?
right. I'm over here fighting with something that got in my damn eyeball, and I'm over here I'm fighting for my life right now. Okay, so, and I still got something in my eyeball, but anyway, we're gonna push through. So. For me, I'm an alpha male type. I like alpha male types in terms of guys who know what they want, they know the direction they want to go, but I'm finding that there's a balance that I also require. And it can't just be you are telling me what to do, telling me when to go, where to say, what to dress, you know, what to put on, what to not put on, what to eat, what to not eat, all that kind of stuff. I don't need that kind of alpha male, but I do need somebody who I can trust to lead.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's out of, that's not necessarily speaking on like in a religious sense, but just someone who is a leader. I need you to be a leader. And when I see that, for me, one of the takeaways from past relationships, I'm not going to point a finger, but from past relationships is if you call yourself a leader,
be a real leader.
I need to see that you lead. I need to see that you've led things in your life to success. Not just that you like to tell people what to do, but to me, a leader, and it should reflect in myself too. If I say I'm a leader, you see me leading the way in different things in my life. You see me being proactive on whatever it is. Like if I say I want to get this type of job, I'm applying for these types of jobs. If you see me say that I want to get into this type of field, I'm learning these type of skills. I'm not just saying, ooh, you know, when I get a better job, and I'm not doing anything to get a better job. So for me, that plays a part in what I consider a leader. So when you're just leading, or okay, so a lot of times I run into guys who, if they're single children or if they're only child type of situation, they're independent or dependent, and it's hyper independent or hyper dependent. I've never seen it be a happy medium, right? So when you run into a type that is hyper independent,
Jesus. And those be the ones you really want to. The hyper fucking independent ones. God help us when you find one.
Hyper independent right now. Okay, my question is: are alpha males considered hyper independent? Men?
I don't think so. I think it's like a balance, because they need that nurturing side of a woman too, to balance them out. They like in the workforce, out in the world, they come out as like this masculine man, but really they nah.
Okay, so do you think that the alpha male is really more the, well, I guess that's my question, because now we're talking about like, okay, alpha male, alpha female, and when we're talking about X's and Y's, like, and I think about some of my exes, I predominantly dealt with a lot of alpha males. But some alpha males with beta tendencies.
Yeah.
Okay. When we're talking about beta, alpha beta in that term, with beta tendencies. So then, you know, it's kind of like I said, I look at the leader as you're leading the way in different aspects of your life. You're not just somebody who complains about stuff and doesn't do anything to try to fix it.
Yes.
You're not somebody who, the other thing I've learned is I want somebody that makes me laugh, but not at the expense of others. And when I say that, like, I know I joke around and talk shit and things like that, but there's something that I learned in past relationships. When that guy is asphyxiated on the downfall of somebody or the flaws of somebody or whatever that may be, it reflects, and it does, even for us, it reflects something in us. And it's the insecurity that we're reflecting or deflecting rather off onto some other situation, some other person, some other, you know, inadequacy that someone else has. And I had to look at that too, because that is saying something about that man as well. And past relationships have taught me a lot about myself too. Because if I think that's funny, if I think that's entertaining, if I think that's all these different things, right? Then it's like, well, you can't really fault them for being that way if you're entertaining it. You know, so what we entertain too is something I learned in past and from my exes is you entertain the bullshit, you're gonna keep getting the bullshit.
Over and over.
You entertain.
Girl, I'm sorry. Over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna keep getting it. So I want to give my ex flowers today to say, you know, I hope you put them flowers for the next chick that you're in a relationship with. I hope you've learned from this past relationship what you need to correct, because if you don't, you're going to repeat it again, you know. And if you didn't see your flaws, if you didn't understand that you had something you needed to correct, then sir, I don't know what to tell you. You're perfect. You don't need to change anything. But for me, I learned a lot in that. So I wanted to give him his flowers too, because it showed me some things in myself that that whole thing where I need an alpha male. I need somebody who gives me that friction to a degree. Because if you allow me to be alpha female to you and you kind of just go with whatever it is I want to have done, it doesn't help the relationship be equal. But it also teaches me that you were just here to appease me so I wouldn't be angry, the angry Black woman. And I've learned that too of myself, that being appeased is also a yellow flag. It's a yellow flag.
Wow.
When they're just wanting you to be happy.
Wow.
But they're not explaining, or they're not sharing their own feelings about it. They're not being honest about their own feelings. You know, so it's like, you know what I mean? That's a yellow flag. Because they don't have their own mind.
Yep. That's major.
So while I'm giving flags, I might be throwing a little dirt, but I'm just saying, I say giving flowers rather, but I might be throwing a little dirt at the same time. However, dirt is fertilizer for the world and fertilizer in your life, and it helps you grow. So I'm gonna look at it as a positive as well. But what would you say you would give your flowers, Mel, to your ex? What flowers would you give him? Let me ask that.
Well, I would give my flowers to not compromise, because I was always asking and requesting of the same things, but there was no compromise. So I would say stick to what you know and what you want, and don't compromise. And then, well, we stay together, but now I know that's when we can't compromise. That's when I need to leave the situation on good terms.
Okay, so you would give him flowers for teaching you that?
Yeah, because he stuck, like, I need more communication. I got no more communication. I need more dates. I got no more dates. So he was sticking to what he wanted, but it was me still requesting those things from him that he couldn't provide or didn't want to. So he taught me that I need to stand in my power if that's not something that I want to do. Okay,
that's a great takeaway. I think that's a takeaway from my situation as well. Now, Brandy, what would you say you would give flowers to your ex?
I would give flowers to my ex.
It sounded like you said give a fuck. Let it go ahead.
Excuse me, I flashed a glitch for a second. No, I say I would give my flowers because I swear to God, this last time taught me everything I didn't want. Everything. What I didn't want, what I didn't want to tolerate, learning to understand that you can walk away anytime. It's okay to speak up for yourself. I mean, it's okay to just, it's okay to only okay to have sex when you want to. You don't have to do it because he wants to. Like, it's a mutual thing, that it's okay to not jump and start assuming stuff. I mean, I could go for days. Just, learning about, when people say certain things in a joking manner, but it's hurtful. Just a lot of emotional things, promises not kept. Boy, I could be here all night. But it definitely taught me what I don't want. And I would say what I'm dealing with now, it's a lot of hard work, but it taught me a lot about myself, what I need to work on. So that relationship taught me what I need to work on for any future relationships. Like that, oh my God, I would be here all night. We would have like a part 4 if I went. But no, seriously though, it really did just teach me like everything I want, and it's okay to set boundaries. That was a big one, boundaries. Yes. And to watch meltdowns because you sit, and I'm not saying this in a laughing manner, but to watch reactions because you start putting up walls. It starts showing you, it starts reminding you what you were ignoring that whole time. Because once you cut off access. And I'm not saying that in a joking manner at all. I'm just saying. Because I'm sure there's people that's cut access off, you know what I mean? So I've been cut off access from. And I think about how I acted. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful tool. Boundaries. That's what I was taught. So there's those flowers for that, because I have not been as miserable as I was a few years ago.
So to conclude this show, I want to say we thank all of our exes.
Are great people.
You are the reason why. And and all, let me say, all jokes aside, with the exception of a few, majority of my exes, I will say, are good men, with some bitch ass tendencies at times. I'm just saying, at times. I'm trying to give flowers accordingly, but they are not the reason why I am the woman I am today, but they are the reason that I work on the woman I am becoming constantly, daily, because it's shown me my errors, and it's also shown me where I need to set my boundaries, just like B was talking about, just like Brandy was talking about. That boundaries are healthy to have, to hold, and to forever keep. Because if you don't have and hold them, then you're going to end up in situations that you don't want to be in. And with that said, our exes are the reason why the good one, the good one that comes along, the right one that comes along, then we're going to understand why they were exes. So this concludes the Dirty Pleasure Show today. I'm J. Marie Poetry, host of the Dirty Pleasure Show. Brandy, my co-host, kind of hidden in the background because of the label or whatever. And then Mel, our guest today, we thank you for coming to talk to us about this topic. And we hope you come back. We also want to say that be sure to subscribe to the Dirty Pleasure Show on YouTube and thedirtypleasureshow.com for all of the rest of our social media platforms.
This is your girl, J. Marie Poetry, host of the Dirty Pleasure Show with the Dirty Pleasure Show. Now we are live. You can go to the store and be sure to unlock the 10% discount when you subscribe to the newsletter. We've got a catalog full of goodies for you. We've got 2 bundles that you want to check out, the Hot Auntie Starter Kit, as well as the Dirty Bag Swag. We've got a little bit of something for everybody on this website. You can also find our social media links and how to connect with us, as well as if you want to be a guest on the show. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because season 3, if you're seeing this and hearing this, season 3 is right now. So be sure to go to the Dirty Pleasure Show and check out some information about myself, J. Marie Poetry. But you can also get a little bit more detail there and understand a little bit more about maybe stuff I hadn't said. But you can definitely see us on the YouTube channel. You can also see us little snippets here and there on the website. And then you can click on the Hear Us tab. We're on all platforms, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and Spotify, just to name a few. Be sure to go to thedirtypleasureshow.com. Now enjoy the show. Let's get dirty.